Today's guests are a mother-daughter duo who are proving that it's never too early or also never too late to chase your dreams, from performing across Nashville to going viral online and appearing on HBO Max's Second Chance stage. They have built a career that's rooted in family, talent, and perseverance. And I'm so excited to hear the stories behind this journey. Welcome, the Taylor duo.
Thank you. We're so glad to be here.
Yes.
Thank you so much for both being here. This project has a very special place in my heart and struck a chord with me because my mom is a vocalist and has been since before I was born. So I got my talents from her. So I feel a kind of a kinship to you.
Awesome.
Well, for
That's
people
very
who are
cool.
just discovering the Taylors, can you tell us the story behind this mother-daughter duo and how it actually came to be?
Sure. Well, I started playing with my dad's band. He had his own radio show, believe it or not, back when radio was live, and it was every
Wow.
week in Fort Wayne, Indiana, on WGL radio. And people Homer and Jethro would come and play on it. Lulabelle and Scotty, a lot of the old Grand Ole Opry stars, they would be guests on my dad's show, and it was a live show. We played live. I started on that when I was 7 years old, so that's kind of where I cut my teeth. And he was also the house band at a place in northern Indiana, about an hour from our hometown. Angola, Indiana is where it was, and it was called Buck Lake Ranch. And it was like the forerunner, I would say, of kind of like a combination of your theme parks and the casino shows. Okay. Every Sunday they had a star that would come in the summertime, a Memorial Day to Labor Day, and that star would play 3 shows a day. My dad was the house band that opened up for them. And so when I was a little kid, I started working on that with him as well. And back then I played with everybody under the sun and had no idea, that they were so famous. To me, they were just somebody else on the show at that point in time.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I cut my teeth. And then I started my own band. And then she came along, and you can take the rest.
So I grew up, in the same thing. I grew up with her always having a band, and always going to their gigs at the fairs and the festivals and whatever, and hearing them practice downstairs. And really, for most of I wouldn't say most of my life, when I was a kid, people would ask me when I was going to get on stage with them. And at that time I said I was never going to do it. I was too scared. I said, I'm never getting up there. And then around middle school time, I guess, middle school to almost high school, I would say I joined choir at school.
Okay.
And so that kind of helped me to get out of my fear a little bit in my shell. And then one night I just said, I think I want to just get up on stage and sing tonight. And I did. And then eventually in high school that I joined her band that she had already at the time. So
yes.
Wow.
And she's a way better singer, Deanne, than I ever hoped to be. My dad was an incredible singer, and incredible singer and an incredible entertainer. And he played acoustic rhythm guitar, but just rhythm guitar. I took an interest in guitar, and my forte was I became a guitar player, and I sing harmonies very well, but I never considered myself much of a lead singer. She took that after Grandpa, and I saw that early on, and I thought, oh, Amanda, you're going to have to get over that fear, because you really have a gift, that you need to get up and share.
Oh, that is so sweet. And you've been playing together now for over a decade. Is that right?
Oh, Lord, yes.
2 almost. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
You started in the band when you were 15.
Yeah.
Right?
In high school. So we played her band she had back in Fort Wayne, Indiana. We played together then. I was in the band then. And it was just on the weekends and stuff, of course. But we did that for a few years before coming down here.
Right.
And then when we moved down here, I was 19. And we didn't play for a few years. I was in college. So the first few years we were here, we didn't quite play, but But then we formed the band, shortly after that. And I've been playing, downtown Broadway and other places really since. Yeah.
I mean, she was still involved in music during that time she went to Belmont University and graduated from Belmont, and she worked you worked for Sony for a while, Sony Tree.
I did an
the internships,
but,
the internships. And so she was involved in it as far as that goes, but we weren't performing regularly on Broadway,
Gotcha.
or other places at that point in time.
But like you said, I'd say probably around 2010 or maybe even earlier than that is when we really started playing with as a band on Broadway. So yeah, it's been
yes,
been a long time.
When you think back to those shows from 2010, when you were first getting started together, what makes you laugh or kind of reflect with a smile the most?
Oh my gosh.
Good question.
Know if I can remember them. I mean, I remember at one time seeing video of me on that first night I was on stage. No, this wasn't 2010. This was the first night ever on stage in high school. When I had gotten on stage with her band. I remember years later looking at video and being like, oh my God, just looking how awful it was and how, oh my God. But I mean, yeah, probably just, I don't know, being able to look back and see, how much you're able to improve over the years.
Yeah.
And
I guess my looking back, I don't know that it would be so much of a smile, but my looking back would be, trying to keep the guys away from you and, the drunks away from her, and just trying to balance mom versus the lead singer out here,
from being a drunk.
And that never stops, Yeah.
But that's actually a really great point that I don't think a lot of people would think of right away, because you are balancing being her mother, but also being her bandmate. I mean, that must have been difficult to separate.
And it still is. Believe me, it still is. Yes.
And me maturing enough to realize when to, if she's trying to tell me something, of me picking when to say, okay, yes, I need to listen to this, or mom, stop. Wanting to just be stop telling me what to do, or to know, okay, no, she's right. Over the years, I need to listen to that. Other times when she's looking at me because I'm taking a shot or something, I'm like, look,
yes,
I'm old enough.
Oh, that's so funny. I mean, family bands are definitely unique because you don't just rehearse together, you do life together. So, I guess what's one thing, if you had to think about working with family, that a lot of people would completely underestimate?
You want to take that one?
Yeah, sorry, my earpiece fell out, so I didn't hear that whole thing. Working with family that you would underestimate?
Yes.
A challenge or just anything?
Anything, probably.
Yeah. I mean, anything that comes to mind. I can't imagine a lot of people know what it's like to work with their family and perform with their family regularly.
I mean, yeah, I would say it's a balance of there's the half of it. And a lot of the reason that you do it is there's that pride there and that fun part there of especially in the older years as she becomes the viral granny guitarist and all that, of that pride of seeing people in the audience and how they react and and liking that and working with your family. And then I guess sort of what we were just talking about of trying to have a balance between arguing and button heads and all that stuff, I guess, because and that's been a good thing, though. I mean, she probably could tell we can tell each other, because we are family, more than what another band might be able to tell each other, depending on how close they are. And so sometimes with bands, so in some ways that's bad, we argue. In some ways that's good, because she's able to be honest with me over the years and say, well, you need to do this because you're going flat, or you need to do this, whatever. Whereas a different guitar player might not have felt comfortable ever telling me that. And I might not have been able to ever know that I was doing this or that, or that I needed to improve.
Well, right. And to elaborate on that, I think it's maybe not yeah, some of it is that they maybe wouldn't know, but I think a lot of it is what you just said a minute ago, in that you don't say those things to your other band members, because you have to balance, you don't want to lose them. You don't want them to get mad and quit. You know that you need them for the next gig. So what do? You go home and you, so-and-so, God, I wish she wouldn't or he wouldn't do that, that type thing. But when it's your family, you can tell them that, and you'll argue and you'll fight and you'll slam a door here and there. But you know what? In an hour, you're back on the phone. What happened? My sink's plugged up. Okay, just a minute. I'll be over. It's that type of thing. Okay. Or there's a spider.
Yeah. Have you found a method that works for you when you have to like kind of draw those boundaries as professional bandmates? Or do you just kind of let it roll like that naturally, where you just, you wing it because you're family?
I'd say, I guess most of the time we wing it. I think over the years, we've probably gotten to where most of the time, anymore, there's not a lot we really have to say. Like I said, like when I was younger, of course, with the drinking, I don't drink much anymore. When I was younger, there was more of that, or telling me, different things to do. I think we've probably gotten to where a lot of it, if it's not something that needs to be said on stage, we don't say it on stage, or you can address
yes,
it later.
Exactly. We don't do that.
You don't do it in the middle unless it's something that has to be said during a song or something like that. But
right.
Yeah.
And to clarify, it wasn't like, it wasn't like she's a drunk. I didn't mean, I don't want to come up, but what happens in those situations, that's kind of that balancing the mother thing again, is that it's the inexperience of not understanding that every guy out there's going, I gotta buy you a drink. Come on, honey, do a shot with me. Oh my God, she's so good. She's so pretty. And when you're young like that, you don't understand how that's going to affect you. Okay. And it's just, take a drink here, take a shot there. And by 3 or 4 shots down. And so having experience as being older and being in the business for a long time, you learn what to do, and that's where I would have to teach her some of the tricks. Well, you tell the bartender ahead of time that, to mix you a virgin drink. Okay.
Yeah.
And the guy that's buying it has no clue. Okay. And then you satisfy their, you get that tip in the jug and you satisfy their connection with you, but yet you're not drinking it, and they don't know the difference. And you just learn those tricks over the years. I learned them from my dad and I learned them from experience over the years. And that was just something that I kind of had. It was those things early on that I kind of had to.
Yeah. And obviously, like we said, that was early on, years and years ago.
Yeah. Years and years ago. Now she does, she knows exactly now, but
Now, I know, Paula Jo, that you mentioned that when you realized Amanda had this talent, that you were like, you've got to get over this fear, because you really have something here. But was there a specific moment where you realized that this could actually turn into something big and you could make this a career together?
Yes, actually there was. I'd have to say the biggest moment for me that I realized just how good she was, was in 9/11, I wrote a song following 9/11 called The Beat of the American Heart. Mm-hmm. And I went into a studio up home in Fort Wayne. And like I said, I never considered myself to be a great lead singer. I just don't have the kind of voice that's real appealing that she does, But I went in and I recorded the song. Because I wanted to get the song out there. Okay. And even the local television stations and everything played the song. Well, Amanda then came with me and she had just started to kind of sing around the house and everything with us. And I said, would you get in and you record it too? And she recorded her vocals on it. And I sang the harmonies. And when I heard that come back, it was like, oh my gosh, that's quality there. That's something I don't have vocally, but my dad does and she does. And that's where I knew, boy, she's got a gift. It's not just mom being mom. Okay. It's actually listening to what's coming out of those speakers, and not thinking about it being your child or anything like that, or your song. You're just listening like you would be listening to the radio. And that's when it really hit me that she had that gift.
Yeah. How did that feel for you?
After that.
Amanda, how did that feel for you? Like getting your mother's vote of confidence and then also having her kind of propose this idea that we need to make something out of this.
Sometimes that, your parents' vote of confidence, sometimes, even though now I know obviously she knew what she was talking about musically, you think, well, it's your parent. They're going to support you no matter what. And they're, whatever. So I think really it was getting other people's opinions as well, that were the feedback from everybody else too. And then really just catching the bug once I started playing on stage and doing, then it was that I wanted to do it after that.
Yeah.
I was too scared, but then once I finally did it, then I wanted to do it.
Yeah. So on the reverse, what was it like for you, Amanda, growing up with a mom who could absolutely shred on the guitar?
I don't think I really realized what she could do. I didn't realize, we didn't think anything of it because it was just life. And, even my grandpa for a while too, it was just, that's what we grew up doing. We grew up, every Wednesday night or whatever in the band room, hearing them practice, hearing them have their band practice. And we had to go to sleep to that, because we had school. So, and, throughout the summer, going to the fairs and festivals and all the different things that we could go to, it was just normal for us. So I don't think we even really thought anything of it, or really didn't even think of it as cool until we started playing down here. And then all the musicians and the people that come in and go, oh my God, your mom, she's so cool. She rocks. And I'm like, she is, she does what? I don't think I really realized it until here really. And having everybody else say it. And then I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that makes perfect sense because for you, it was normal. It was everyday life.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I can identify with that because when I was young and playing Buck Lake Ranch, okay, just to give you one example, and there's a lot of them, but just to give you one example, we were playing, with a star that day. And I mean, we were the opening act, my dad, and I was a guest on his show. And back behind the stage in all the little green rooms, so to speak, the band was playing, not our band, but the artist band was playing cards. And they had the star had on this vest that was just beautiful. It was called eyelash material at the time, but it's like a sequence, like a fringy sequin. Okay.
Yeah.
And it was royal blue. And I said, boy, I love that vest. That's really pretty. Now you got to remember I'm about 9 or 10. Right. And he says, you like that vest, little girl? He said, you want it? I said, yeah. He goes, well, come here, you can win it. And I said, win it? And he says, I'll teach you how to play poker. Well, I didn't win the vest, of course, but I sat down at the card table and he was trying to teach me how to play poker. And to me, he was just the other guy on the show. It was Hank Williams Jr. So I learned to, So I learned to play poker at about 10 years old from Hank Williams Jr. Okay. One of the green rooms backstage at Buck Lake Ranch, and that type of thing would happen all the time, but it was just normal life for us. It was like, well, yeah, but my dad's on stage too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Dan, we didn't realize that there was an impact or a difference, between, there was a level of difference because my dad was really great and really good. And he was on stage too. So that's just the way it was,
Yeah. So this wasn't a planned question, but now I'm curious. Have you run into a Hank Williams Jr. along your journey to success and remind him of that story?
No, I have not. But, I've often wanted to. I've often thought of that. Yes, I've often thought of that.
Well, Paula Jo, I have another question for you because we mentioned a few moments ago how you've been nicknamed the Viral Granny Guitarist. That's not a
Uh-huh.
title many people expect to hear. So,
No.
what was it like for you to embrace that unexpected identity, and how did it change your career?
Oh, I love embracing it, okay? And it has changed a lot. And how it came about was I was at the NAM show, which for people who don't maybe know what the NAM show, it's a musical merchandisers, as I'm sure you know, Deanna. It's
I
a
think National Association of
yeah,
Musical Merchandisers.
musical
Yeah.
merchandiser show where they all come together and, like Fender and Gibson and whatever, and they're showing their stuff. And I was at the NAM show and I played, somebody had asked me, I ran into a guy that kind of knew, and he said, "Hey, I'm talking about putting this line of guitars in my music store. Would you come over and sit down and play it a little bit and let me know what you think of it?" So I said, "Okay." So I sat down at this booth and I'm playing it, and people started gathering around because they do that, and
Yeah.
they're filming with their phones. And this guy was filming with a phone, and then he asked me my name, and I could tell that, he was from Europe because by his accent, he was from Germany. Well, as it turned out, his name was Thomas Blug, and he has Blue Guitar in Germany, makes amplifiers and guitars and so forth and so on, and very popular. He's also kind of a popular rock artist over there. Well, he happened to know a lot of the rock artists over here in the States. So I was playing downtown Broadway one day, and Amanda was actually working. I believe you were working or coming into work
Bartending.
downtown. And she stepped in and she said, "Mom, my friends have said you've gone viral." And I said, "Oh my God, am I contagious or what?" And she, she says, "No, something about viral on the internet." She said, "Something about Nikki Sixx from Motley Crue has put something out on you." And I'm like, "What?" So we looked it up. And as it turned out, Nikki Sixx was familiar with Thomas Blug. And he got a hold of that video and he wrote an article. He actually researched Amanda and I because he posted some of our videos that he had found online, and he put a little article and everything out on his iHeart radio stations, and he dubbed me the Viral Granny Guitarist, and collectively it got about 6 million views. So I was like, okay, thank you, Nikki.
Wow.
But
Oh
that's how
my
it came
gosh.
about.
That's incredible. Amanda, what were you thinking in that moment when you're getting messages from your friends?
I mean, and this was a while back before, before there was influencers and all of that.
Oh,
Yet
yeah,
going viral was kind of a newer thing.
Yeah, it was.
Too. So that's why it was like, you're kind of trying to understand what's happening at the time too. Like, what do you mean going viral? And then realizing, then you just see all these people sharing it, and and I mean, yeah, it was just wild. And like you said, funny too, that it was the Viral Granny Guitarist, because I don't think you'd been called that before.
No.
That wasn't a term we had yet. So it was like,
Yeah.
oh, what's this going to do?
And what's interesting about it, Deanna, is that, as we all know, in the entertainment industry anywhere, whether it's Nashville or whether, it's Hollywood or Vegas, age is of the essence. Okay. As we all know, it's a young man's town, as Vince Gill has always said. So I was always trying to hide my age because I came down here at a late age to begin with. I came down here to be with the best musicians ever and to learn to develop my craft even further. But I didn't have any ideas of ever being a star, which I never would be, but you know what I'm saying, or going viral or anything like that. That wasn't in the back of my mind. I came down here because I wanted to be with the best there was and to improve and do things that I wish I could have done when I was younger, but I didn't. So that being the case, I would always try to kind of hide my age. And especially while she was in college, as we mentioned, and we weren't working together, I was working with an all-female band called Broadband. So it was important to try to look young, and to try to fit in, but which I was way older than the rest of them, but, to try to fit in with them and to try to look as young as you could. So I never thought about that. But after Nikki Sixx did that, I thought, That's kind of cool. I'm just going to embrace that. I mean, you can't get away from it. Inevitably, if you're lucky enough, you can't get away from being old, you know.
Yeah.
And really that's probably brought you more attention and more opportunities from being a granny guitar player and being an older guitar player than you got before when you were trying to not be. So, you know, that's a funny thing there. And like I said, kind of a lesson there to try to just be who you are. And a lot of times, especially anymore in today's world, that's a lot more accepting of a lot of different things. You know, a lot of people like you better when you just are what you are. You just are who you are. And people love that. So,
yeah. Now,
yes, that's very true.
I'm sure, like you mentioned, having been dubbed, you know, that having like that strong title attached to your name probably liberated you in some way when it came to, you know, like the age discrimination. But have you ever felt some kind of like pressure on the other side to like live up to this viral moment all the time?
Yes. Yeah. For one thing, I never really consider myself much of a rock player. I'm more of a country player. My forte is more chicken picking, you know, like Brad Paisley, Brent Mason, that type of thing.
Okay.
That's what I grew up on, and that's my forte. That's what I'm more accomplished at. But I can do the rock and roll. It's not something as natural to me, I guess you would say, you know. But I enjoy it. I wish it was more natural to me, but it just wasn't what I came up on. So it was more the shredding rock and roll that gave me the viral moment. And that's what everybody wants to hear now. So there is a pressure there because I don't feel that I'm by far not the greatest guitar player on any genre as far as that goes. But I feel more accomplished on the country chicken picking, and I don't feel as accomplished on the rock. So there's a pressure for that. Yes. I mean, there is. I will admit that. I'm like, okay.
Because people who see that a lot of times they request "Sweet Child of Mine," and we get that
all
request
the time,
all the time.
every time, you know.
Yeah.
So, and that's fine.
That's
I mean, I love doing it, but I know there are rock players out there that would probably tear me apart, and they have online many a times and said, "Oh, she doesn't do that right," you know, and I'm sure I don't. Okay, you know.
Oh, after all of this like success and all these wonderful moments, you're still so humble, which is so endearing.
Oh.
But can we talk about what it was like to walk onto the stage for Second Chance Stage and like what emotions were going through you both at that moment?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think I blacked out for a minute, like just don't even remember it. Like, yeah, I mean, I was very, very nervous. I probably get more nervous in those situations than you do. And I was very, very nervous all leading up to it. And somehow, thankfully, I mean, we had a moment to kind of take a breath when we got out there, and that helped me, like, because there was something to fix with the amp and whatever. So we kind of got to get out there, and I got to look at the audience, look at the judges, and go, okay, take a breath. And then we started. So that helped me. But also I think just in that moment, I'm glad that this didn't happen 20 years ago or 10 years ago. I'm glad that it happened when it happened, because I had enough experience and, maturity and all of that by that time to be able to handle a situation like that and get my nerves under control. Even with as nervous as I was able by that point to take a breath, get them under control, and just do what we came there to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, that moment changed so much for you in an instant, because, you know, Heidi, if people aren't familiar, it's Heidi Gardner at the time, Martina McBride, and Taye Diggs, correct? And they all reacted so positively to your performance. Is there a particular comment from either one of them that really kind of stuck with you after the filming ended?
I mean, like you said, they all said really cool things, I guess. Yeah. I guess the couple things I would say, and then you can say, is Heidi Gardner's, just talking about what a special moment it was, and to soak it all in, a special moment with mother and daughter, and that she'd never seen anything like that before. And it just blew her away. And, just that she'd never seen something like a mother-daughter act in a woman that could play the guitar, and, just sort of how, she was very impressed by our relationship and what,
I'd have to say that was probably the one that had the most impact, is when she said, this is so special about being, mother and daughter and working with your family. And Martina made a comment about that as well, about how she had worked with her family. And I thought that was a really, that was a comment that had impact too.
Yeah.
And of course I loved it when she said, I can see you on the Grand Ole Opry.
Yeah.
I wish. Yeah.
Wow.
And then Tay saying you could go anywhere, you could do anything.
Yes. When Tay said that was
really
great
they
too.
all, they all had,
they were all wonderful. They really were.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just a wonderful experience. And one of the things that I loved about it is, and I was a little nervous too, because, this is something really big. So it was probably one of the biggest highlights of my career and that I'll ever have, and so I was a little nervous too, but when I get out there and you start, the audience is just reacting so nice that all of that goes away.
You pay more attention to the audience. Yeah.
Yes,
I guess that's what it was, because there was an audience there. Once you start performing, like we said, all those years of your practice and, training, whatever, all of those years kicks in. And at that point, you're just performing for the audience that's there.
Yeah.
And hoping that it all goes well, while you're at it.
Exactly. And the other thing that I was going to say, and I got a little sidetracked, was that this particular show, I think, it was a lot less backbiting, if you will, competitive wise, than some of the other competition shows that are out there. I kind of felt like this was more of a showcase type show to show that second chance older people still can be doing what they love, and they still have it, so to speak, and I was kind of surprised that some of them weren't that old, but but then some of us were, and that was refreshing too. And I didn't feel like I wanted to really compete against them. I was just really happy to be there, and to see what they could do and experience what they still were able to do, and be happy for them as well. And I did love that about the show. It wasn't so much about winning. It was about just having the chance to be there and perform and be seen. Didn't you think?
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. And some of it we didn't even know at first, like through the whole process of being on the show and getting up to the show. One, I didn't believe that it was going to happen really the whole time. I was just kind of like, yeah, okay. And until our flights were booked, and it was like, okay, we're actually going there. This is happening.
Yeah.
And so I didn't think it would, but there was a lot of stuff we still didn't know. I don't even think yet that we knew that it was going to be on HBO Max. No. We didn't know the judges. So really not until right before we go out and perform, we didn't know this stuff. So one of the producers tells me, but right before we're going out to perform, he's like, you realize Martina McBride's out there, right? I was like, no, I didn't. Nobody told me. I didn't know Martina.
Wow.
Out there, so
no pressure.
You didn't know any of that.
Yeah, no. I'm like, great. I was already nervous. Now you're just going to make me more nervous now? Like, no, I didn't know that.
Well, and right before you go out there, Chip and Joanna Gaines walk into the to the makeup area there, and they introduce themselves to everybody, and they say hi, and everybody's like, oh my God, this is our show. Oh. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was because it was their show. I mean, they're the ones that are behind Second Chance Stage, and so. And here they walk in, and you get the chance to meet them, and you have no idea that was really cool. I mean, it really was.
The whole thing was really surreal because it was such a quick,
it
was very quick too. It was very busy. It was just a quick little weekend, quick couple days. And the filming day was very, very busy. Rehearsal, dress, do this, go get dressed. Okay. Now the show, it was a whirlwind. And so I think some of it too, at the same time, you're tired, you're just going through the motions kind of in a way, because it is surreal. You're like, wow, is this happening? And then you're nervous for the show all night. And then the show happens, and so I think like that helped too, just being busy. But it was just, yeah, you're just like, is this actually, wow, this is actually happening. Like, just.
But it was awesome. I mean, honestly, and I have said, we were on that show, of course. And then I was on TBN on Huckabee on his show at one point too. And it was very similar, not like that, but the behind the scenes thing was similar and so professional. Okay. And I wish that I could have done that when I was younger, got involved in television like that. I would have loved to have done something like that. Of course, at my age, I mean, back then college was for doctors and lawyers. And what I'm saying, Deanna, it was more for wealthy kids that were going to be doctors and lawyers. And we just didn't know about or have the means, to really do that. But I wish that I would have, because I would love to be involved in television. It's just so cool.
Man, that sounds like such an incredible experience and much different from a lot of the other reality TV shows when it comes to like a competition series or performing. So it's great that you have such fond memories. After it aired, what would you say changed the most? Was it your opportunities, your confidence, or something else?
I guess out of those, I probably would say confidence more than that. I mean, I wouldn't say there's been a lot of opportunities that have reached out to us because of it. No. I think it gives us opportunities because we have that to promote now.
Yes.
We have that in our cap, so to speak. We have that in our resume now to be able to say, this is what we're doing. This is what's airing. And so when we are trying to book or do things, now that we have that, it's definitely a great thing that helps. And like you said, and I think it helped my confidence just because for me, my only goal going there was not to win, not to whatever. My goal going there was just to get through it, to just do the performance, not forget words, not black out, not faint, not be too nervous, like just go out there and do it. And, and so I was able to do that. So I was happy with that. Like, I just happy that I was like, I went and did this big thing that was very nervous, and yet I still did it. I was able to do it. And I was just happy that I did that.
My goal was just that, oh, wow, I'm getting to live a very big part of my dream. I'm going to be on national television.
Yeah.
and I'm going to be able to entertain an audience that, like we always do, whether they're little children or whether they're 75 years old. And maybe I'll inspire somebody 75 years old to try it next time and get on a show, because, hey, you can do it. And so that was kind of just my goal. But yeah, and I'd have to say that the one thing that it has changed for us is some level of notoriety. I mean, a little bit higher level of notoriety when people come to our shows and stuff. There are a lot of times that they will say, I saw you, or you'll see them taking a picture of our banner. We have a big banner that has our photo on it, and it's from the Second Chance stage, and the Second Chance stage is in the background above us, and
or when we announce what a lot of times on our gigs, we tell people, check us out if you got HBO Max, or
it's streaming on HBO,
and you can tell people sort of, and they then they think, then they kind of think you're on a different level, or they're famous, even though we're not famous. They think that if you can say that, we're currently on HBO Max, that to the people in the audience, it's like they're like, oh wow, and they think it's,
and they usually give you a round of applause about that time too. You announce, please pull it up on HBO Max, tune in and watch us, and,
I'm sure that adds a wow factor. Absolutely.
Yes.
Can you tell us about maybe some of the things that people don't notice when they see you performing live? Like, do you have a little unspoken communication or, ways that you kind of interact with each other to kind of, let the other know where you're about to go or what's going to come next? Like, can you tell us a little bit about those little moments that people might not see?
I mean, anymore now, since, like I said, it's been so many years, we know without saying it, but a lot of times she knows if I'm looking at her, with sort of a questioning look, or she knows most of the time I'm either asking like, am I off? Is something off? am I off? Like I'm wanting her reassurance, like I'm hearing something weird, and I'm, either that question or there's certain times maybe. I mean, most of the time now, I know those things now. I don't, more so in the beginning, I had to look at her more for things. Now I don't have to as much, but if I do, I would say most of the time, that I'm either questioning, like, am I off or not? Or am I hearing that wrong? Or,
yes, I
or
know
sometimes if I'm making sure that I'm correct on coming in, especially if there's different breaks of different musicians and me not being a musician, that I might question, like, wait, I'm coming in, if I'm just questioning when to come in or something like that.
Yeah. And I can pick up on that, and we tend to kind of like, almost, don't want to say read each other's minds, but to a certain extent on what should we do next. We've got them out here on the dance floor, or we've got them singing along with us, and she'll look at me like, and I'll look at her, and we kind of sometimes have the same song in mind as to what to pull up next. Or I know that she's going to look at me and give me the, we ought to do this next. And I'll say, yep, and then and she'll take a breath in between and even whisper it, or mouth it, I should say, to where I can read her lips, like, Sweet Home, Sweet Home, Alabama. And then, yep,
Yeah.
And that way she can go right into
it. I can go right into it.
Or she can tell the band while I'm talking in between and trying to talk to the crowd. And then that way we only take a second, a second or so. We don't take too long between. There's not a lot of downtime. And then that way they can go right into the song without having to stop. And then me tell everybody, and then we go into it,
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of bands that have, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Because here it's a different ball game here in Nashville on Broadway, as you probably know, Deanna. First of all, you don't always have a band like you do, like we did up home. Up home, we had a band, and that was those band members. And if somebody was missing, we had to replace them for the night. We were like, oh my God, who do we get now? And things were.
Well, you had rehearsals. You had band rehearsals.
We had rehearsals
every week. You got together at the house and practiced. And,
down here,
Broadway's
honest to God, when it's on Broadway, when we say we'd like to introduce the band, it means, hi, my name is, and I mean, that's honest to God, because many times you've never met that person. Last week we played with a fiddle player we didn't know, incredible. He was great. But that's just the way it is down here. So you have to communicate with them a lot more than you would have to communicate if you had a set list and now, like when we go out of town and we go perform, we opened for Lone Star last summer. And when we go out of town and perform, then we have a certain A-team band that's been with us that we want, that we like to take with us. And we have a set list and everything goes boom, boom, boom. But on Broadway, you don't do that. It's all about requests and, getting money in that tip jug.
Yeah.
So it's a different thing.
Yeah, it's true. And it's funny because that was one of the most surprising things that I learned when I moved here, is that the bands on Broadway typically are not bands. They're people who just met each other. But there are a lot of bands out there who have a really great chemistry. But I would imagine, being mother and daughter, that you have kind of a leg up because there's like this unspoken intuition that you are able, like you said, Paula Jo, you don't necessarily read each other's minds, but like sometimes it probably feels that way.
Yes.
Yeah. And we've really been lucky over the years. Our band too, down on Broadway, we've had a lot of the same players that we have played with regularly over all of these years. So you do get to where they can anticipate things as well, and you get tighter and all that. So it's not like we're always playing with people, but sometimes it's just if there's a week or two that they need to be out or whatever, and we've got to find somebody, then like I said, that last week we had to find a fiddle player, and that happened to be that we hadn't played with that fiddle player before. Yeah. Went great. Right. He was great, but it happens sometimes. Now, most of the time, like we said, we have a few different sets of musicians that we've played with for many, many years. And we usually get at least some, most of those musicians.
And just to go along with what she just said, yes. And I feel very, very grateful for this. Our musicians seem to respect us and have been very loyal to us over the years. And I think a lot of that is because my dad taught me That was the number one thing, was loyalty with him. He had the opportunity to go to Nashville. Well, he actually wrote a song that Tex Ritter recorded back in 1948. And it was the very first auctioneer song. Well, it was the very first song to ever have auction bidding in it. It was called He's a Cowboy Auctioneer. And Tex Ritter has that out on Capitol Records. And my dad wrote that song. Well, he also became good friends with Ernest Tubb. And there's a lot of stories, like I say, that I could tell you. But one of the things that he always said, Ernest had asked him, back in that day, they always had front men that would come out, and they were really good singers and usually played acoustic guitar, and they would do a few songs before the artist, right? And then they would say, and now we'd like to welcome, your artist for the day, Mr. Ernest Tubb. And then Ernie would come out, and the front man would step to the background. He would sing harmonies and play. Well, my dad called him Ernie, and Ernie wanted him to be his front man because he had lost a front man, and he really wanted my dad to be the front man. But my dad had a band. Well, he also had a full-time job, but he had a band, and he had his radio show every Saturday afternoon, and every Sunday afternoon we had Buck Lake, and he played on Saturday nights in addition to that, and a lot of Friday nights at local, legions and square dances and you name it. Okay. And his band depended a lot on that income to feed their family. Yeah. And my dad was always very loyal about that. And he thought about it, but he turned it down because he said that he always said he'd rather be a big fish in a little pond because his band members, relied on him. I mean, it was loyalty. So we've been very loyal to our band members over the years too. And we've tried to treat them very, very well. And I think they respect that because we have been blessed to have a lot of the same ones for all this time. We have, had several of the same ones that have stayed with us.
Yeah. Wow. That is really a very commendable loyalty to have toward people that you work with. I mean, have you been presented with an opportunity as you've grown and gained this success that you had to kind of make a decision like that? Or if not, would you choose the same path?
I don't know that we've ever had necessarily to make a big decision like that.
No, not really. I think in today's world, when you say, would you choose the same path? Well, in where we're at today, on the flip side of that coin, our musicians don't exactly rely on us because we try to keep the best musicians possible too. So when we have to replace somebody, it is because they're out working with an artist, and we always tease about that, okay? Because we'll tease on stage and say, well, he's out working with Tracy Lawrence instead of us, so I don't know why he wants to do that, or that. So, and I mean, that's honest to God truth. One of our drummers occasionally goes out or has worked with Kid Rock. Okay. So we'll tease about that and say, I don't know why he wants to go out with that guy, Kid Rock, instead of being here with us. But so they don't exactly rely on us for an income. If they did, then yes, I would probably make the choice that my dad taught me to make. But we also would never sell out. If that's on a smaller scale basis, we've had to make choices and decisions before where somebody says, well, they don't want that drummer, or they don't want, like maybe a particular venue or a particular booking or a particular, and we would not sell out like that. I mean, we would not do that. We would never do that to our band, and we never have, would we? No, and we would not.
Yeah.
So
if we were somewhere and, like you said, they just said, "Oh, we don't like your bass player, you can't bring them," or whatever, then we'd be like, "Okay,
then we'd be like, okay, thanks again," but we're not. Yeah. So I think it's a much smaller scale than being asked to be the front man of Ernest Tubb. Okay, but again, it's a different time, and it's a different thing, when you're down here and there's so many bands, or I should say so many positions, not necessarily bands, but musicians playing this spot 10 to 2, 2 to 6, 6 to 10 at this club. And then you got the next band on the rooftop that's doing the same thing at every club up and down the street. Our musicians are not in the same boat exactly as
a hometown band.
My dad's was. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That makes sense. I want to get a little personal with you guys before we wrap up. So I wanted to ask, can you tell us what is one thing that you've taught each other, not just musically, but maybe personally as well, from working together?
You want to start?
Well, maybe some of it is what you were just talking about. You've taught me how to, be loyal to the musicians, put the musicians first, think about the work. Like we said, like, okay, with my other jobs with bartending and stuff, I need to ask off, it's not the same as putting my band out of work for a week. You don't as easily ask off a gig, not only because if you're the front person, it's not as easy to keep those gigs if you're going to keep asking off, but also because you don't want to put your band out of work. And, probably professionally, there's things like that. And like we said, professionally for me, probably just over the years, helping me to learn different performing things, like I said, different things about improving, improving vocally, improving performance wise, things like that over all these years that she's helped me teach or has helped to teach me professionally. And I mean, personally, I guess, like you said, from working together personally, obviously personally as a mom, there's, plenty of things that, she's taught me over the years. But professionally, I guess, from working together, I guess I would say maybe she's just helped me to be confident, self-assured. By watching her, I've learned to, like you said, to, go out there and do it. Like you said, you're not too like plenty of times that I would be not, that I'd be asking her, I'd be not confident in myself or in a decision. And then to have her there going, no, you can do it, go on and do it. You're going to, whatever, kind of that confidence that she helps to give me that confidence and self-assuredness a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And I guess she's taught me that it's a different world nowadays. And when it comes to everything from promoting us to social media to, I have to go to her. Okay. Because that part of being a grandma and an old lady doesn't fly nowadays. I normally, it really doesn't, I'll be 70 in August. And so I just, it's not the same as it used to be, and a lot of times I think people want to deal with a younger person. And so I let her take over a lot of that realm and deal with, she is considered the leader of the band, on Broadway and a lot of the other places that we play or we book or whatever. We do it through her because she is the youth and the one that is the college educated one that's more in tune. Well, much more than me. And the one that's more in tune with that. But when it comes to the actual musical end of the leading it, then that's more me, but she's taught me that kind of thing and just, and she still does that on a daily basis, like we'll be on stage or something. And she's like, okay, I better shut up for a while because I get to talking, and yeah,
as I'm
exactly.
Sure by now.
She tries to teach me that,
Or I don't think that's a term you really should say anymore on stage or something.
Yeah, like what?
Like when you're like, oh, an old fat lady or something. I'm like, I don't know if I'd say fat anymore on stage.
I'm used to entertaining like we did in the old days, and a lot of it was a bunch of corny jokes and corny things to say. And she's like, there's a lot of times that I'll say something and she just, and we have, I have our standard things that we kind of usually say when we're getting ready to pass the tip jug or something, like I'll tell them that, please remember that when my daughter comes around, that my children here need beer and cigarettes, and that type of thing. And then I'll say something like, I could tell you they need diapers, but at my age, you probably think that's for me. And so, we do those things and we get a laugh, but then there's sometimes I get a little carried away and she's like, oh, God, Mom, don't say that. So.
Oh, that's so sweet. And it's so nice to hear the relationship that you have and how you bounce so well off of each other. But I'm sure it hasn't always been, like sunshine and roses. Has there ever been a time where maybe one of you, kind of got really frustrated or kind of pushed over the edge? Who talks who down? Like who's the one who balances the other out when they need to be brought back from the ledge?
I would say probably a third party.
Well, yeah, my husband. Yeah. Yeah, really.
Or other band members. Over the years, like we said, that doesn't really happen too much anymore. At least not about professional things,
Not everything else, but yeah.
That would probably again be something that happened more when I was younger, more immature, more, all of those things. As we've matured, that doesn't happen as much, but.
Except for driving. I mean, our band always teases and they'll say, they'll say, well, you don't ever, they'll say, oh, it's so nice that, the audience will say, it's so nice, mother and daughter, and you get along so well. And the band's like, don't ride somewhere with them.
Or they just know the behind the scenes where they've heard us argue. And they're
like, because I'm like, Amanda, don't pull out like that. I didn't pull out that fast. Yeah.
All right, I have a couple quick things I want to do with you guys before I let you go. Just a little fun back and forth. But I want to just go back and forth and you can point to the other. But I'm going to ask you a couple quick questions of who's more likely to.
Okay. Oh, gosh. Okay.
So who's more likely to forget the lyrics to a song?
Yeah, me.
Probably you now that you're older.
Me.
More likely to be late to a gig. Who's more likely to change up the set list last minute?
Maybe. That's probably both of us to a certain extent.
Depending on who's calling us along there.
Who's more likely to talk to fans the longest at the end of a night?
She's just more likely to talk the longest.
Anytime.
Whenever.
Yeah.
Who is more likely to take an unexpected solo moment?
Probably you.
Me, probably. Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Okay. And who is more likely to give the other one constructive criticism?
Probably you. I don't know.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, probably.
I try sometimes to give you that, but.
So one curiosity that I have looking forward for you both is what chapter of the Taylors' story do you think is just beginning?
Oh, boy, there goes the clock again.
Oh, the clock.
The ominous clock.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
There we go. I think it's done.
Maybe that's a sign there's a grandfather clock. I don't know. Gosh, what's just beginning?
Okay, what was it again? Oh, what's the chapter that's just beginning?
Yeah, what chapter of your story do you think is just beginning?
That's a good one.
I think maybe really trying to get out of the Broadway bubble. Not that we don't appreciate and love it, but we've done it for so long. Just I think the chance to be on Second Chance stage, the fact that we did that and like we would love to be, and even social media, but really neither of us are that great at social media. Even me, she hates Instagram. I know that stuff, but I've not really gotten with TikTok though either, because I'm an elder millennial. So I haven't really I never took to that, and I know I should. But even just the chance to, break out on social media or do some commercials or do something that's in a bigger realm than not to put Broadway down, but just to go beyond Broadway. Yes. Broadway has changed tremendously in the 20 years that we've been here. And since we've been down there, it's changed a lot. It's continuing to change. Nashville's continuing to change. So, I'd love to be able to get to a different chapter where we're able to do, other things, more things like Second Chance Stage.
I
more
would
things
too.
In that realm.
I'd love to have our own,
host a show or
our own television show or our own something where we could reach more of a vast audience, more. And I'm not saying it would be all about us either. I mean, just like you're doing something wonderful here with this podcast, and people get the chance to hear all of this. I wish we could have our own, sort of like the old fashioned variety shows like Ralph Emery and stuff, which probably you're too young to remember, but that type of thing where we could host something and we could perform and we could bring all of our friends in and we could have them tell a little stories and we could have them perform and stuff. But we just really, at this point, we don't know how to go about doing that. But I'm hoping that we can learn and figure it out, because that would be the next chapter I would love to have,
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, hey, never say never, because did you imagine, 10, 20 years ago, you would be here today?
Oh, no, never.
No,
never.
Yeah.
No, that's for sure. So,
yeah. Well, my final question, because your story is built, around family and perseverance. If somebody were listening today and is afraid to take their chance because they fear it may be too late, what would you tell them?
Well, sorry.
I mean, I guess, especially from your point of view, you'd always say it's never too late. Especially with the fact that, like we talked about earlier, that you've gotten more recognition and more opportunities probably later in life as the Viral Granny than you probably got before that. So I know you would probably say, like you said, to tell them it's never too late, because we see, especially with social media and stuff now, you see people at whatever age just blowing up, or, they don't start their business until later. So, I mean, I guess that's what I would say is it's never too late. And the time, I guess the time's going to pass anyway. So do
right.
Do what it is you want to do.
I think it can inspire people when you do something like that and let them know that, oh, wow, if they're doing that, maybe it's not ever too late, And I love to see these commercials nowadays, which I wish I could be a part of, but I love to see these TV commercials and stuff nowadays where they have older people doing things, like, on the skateboard or whatever, or an older person playing the guitar and they're advertising some medication or something like that. But I do think that, that has an impact on all of us, because we watch that and go, oh, maybe I should get that, because that might, maybe I should buy that. That's what marketing is all about. And I do think that you can inspire people to maybe realize that that they're not too old and that they need to go out and do that. Oh, I know what happened. Sorry.
Yours is dying too.
Oh, we're dying too.
No,
there we go.
Oh, it got darker. The screen got darker.
Yeah, the screen got dark on us. And I'm like, what happened? Well, when we backed it up to put that light up, we pulled it out.
Well, thank you so much for your insight and for sharing your story today. It's been such a pleasure getting to know you both better. And I just can't wait for what's next for the both of you, individually and as a mother-daughter duo.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure to get this opportunity and get to speak with you.
Absolutely.
It certainly has. Thank you.
Thank you. I so appreciate your time.
Thank you.
We appreciate yours.